So we are going to begin the invertebrates part 2. Remember that out of the 11 phylums in the animal kingdom, 10 of those are associated with the invertebrates. We covered most of those on our first part of the invertebrates, but what we have to cover here are going to include the mollusk, the echinoderms, and the arthropods. The mollusks are second only to the arthropods in total number of species. So when we look at our mollusks, the characteristics we're going to look at is having an unsegmented body. The bodies are going to be soft, they're going to have a mantle, and they're going to have some type of shell. The main examples of the mollusks that we will be covering are going to include the clam and the squid. Now this is super important, so listen close. I will ask you, mollusks such as the clam have what kind of circulatory system? They have an open circulatory system, meaning they do not have a heart and blood vessels. I will also ask you, mollusks such as the squid have what kind of circulatory system? They have a closed circulatory system, meaning squids have a heart and they have blood vessels. So when we look at the mollusk overall, we will see a head, foot, and visceral mass, but be careful when I ask the question on the circulatory system, am I asking about clams, which have an open circulatory system, or am I asking about squids, which have a closed circulatory system? Remember that we are on the animal kingdom, phylum Mollusca. Now we're looking at the classes. The classes will appear as matching on your upcoming test. Polyplacophora has the chitins. Now also know that polyplacophora means bearer of many plates. The gastropods means stomach foot. The example would be snails and slugs. Bivalve is also called Pelecypoda. This means hatchet foot. This is going to be our oysters, our scallops, our mussels, and clams. The cephalopoda means head foot. This is cuttlefish, squid, and octopus. And the scaphopoda means boat foot. Here we have a photograph of a chitin. It belongs to the class Polyplacophora. It has 8 overlapping plates. The plates serve as protection, and also because they're overlapping, it allows for the chitin to be flexible for movement over the rocks. It does have gills. It has a closed circulatory system, and it feeds by scraping algae off of the rock using tooth-like structures called radules. The chitins are eaten in some parts of the world, so if you travel to the Caribbean, you may be able to try a chitin for lunch. Now here we have just a close-up showing you what the chitin looks like. We ran across some of these when we took our winterim trip to Cozumel, and we tried to remove one of these from the rocks, and it was impossible to remove. They can really latch on to the rocks. Here you can see the gastropods. This includes the snails and slugs. You will find snails in a wide variety of areas. There are freshwater snails, there are terrestrial snails, and there are marine snails. You can even try to eat snails as escargot. It's actually very good. My hopes is that you'll be able to see some of the marine snails when we set up our saltwater tanks. They move with a muscular foot, and they secrete a mucus so that their muscular foot can slide over the material that it's trying to move over. So gastropod again means stomach foot. Now if you will look at the picture on the top left, that is a conch shell. You see people using conch shells to blow out of to make them a type of horn, and on this picture you can see what the conch organism actually looks like. Conch is a delicacy in the Caribbean, and I've showed you a picture of a conch salad and conch fritters. If you ever get a chance to try this, they're delicious. but that's what a conch snail looks like coming out of its shell, and then a couple of delicacies of conch that you can try. Bivalve means two shells. In this area, we'll be looking at the clam and the structures of the clam. Cephalopoda means head foot, and we can see the squid and the octopus as two examples. I have a video that I'm going to show you of how an octopus can escape. Octopus are extremely intelligent organisms. You can keep them in saltwater tanks, but it's highly recommended that you do not. They can escape from the smallest crack in your tank, in any kind of opening, and there have been documented stories of an octopus coming out of its aquarium. It can live for a short period of time and actually attacking and killing a family's pet, and then they can go back into the aquarium. Here we have the class Gastropoda. These right here are the ones that mean boat foot. They are marine mollusk. If you look to the left of the diagram, you will see where the mollusk can enter and leave its shell. These are fairly simple mollusks. Now we're going to start to look at the anatomy of the clam. The first thing you'll notice is the large bump that we see on the outside of the clam shell is called the umbo. You're also going to see that there are dark lines that go through. These are the growth lines. The coloring of the shell itself is called the periostracum. And as we look at the clam, we want to first look at the outside of the clam, then we want to look at the inside of the clam shell, and then the clam structures themselves. So we see the umbo, we see the periostracum is the dark color. You could get a scalpel and you could scrape that off. It helps it to camouflage itself in the sand. And then we see the growth lines. On the inside of the clam shell, the first thing you're going to see is these hinged teeth. Now the hinged teeth help to take the two clam shell sides and lock them closed, so that if the clam feels threatened, it can lock itself closed and protect itself. The shiny mother of pearl layers that you see is called the nacreous layer. You're going to see some attachments of muscles. Those are typically the adductor muscle attachments, or you may even see some scars there, or if the muscles haven't been completely removed, you may see some pieces of muscles. And then this area right here is the pallial line. This is where the muscle attaches to the shell. Looking at the muscle itself, some things you can see is the adductor muscle right here. You can see a retractor muscle right there. Again, you can see a muscle right here. Those are what attached to the other side of the shell and left those scars. We can see the gills here for filter feeding. We can see where the mantle attaches, and they have that pallial line is where it attaches. Up in this area, if you do a dissection, you're going to see it's very simple little heart. If we take the mantle, we could cut that mantle open. Now if we cut across there and open that mantle, you're going to see some yellow and some green components. The green components are the digestive glands, the yellow components are the gonads, and if you do a really good job cutting it, you'll see some hollow lines. Those hollow little open tubes are the intestines, and if you follow that up to a larger area, that forms the stomach. Again, just another view to help show you that if we were to take this area right here, cut it open, then you could see the intestines, followed up to see the stomach. Again, the yellow would be the gonads, the green would be the digestive glands. Right up in here, we're showing you the heart structure we showed you on the previous slide. You can see the gills, but those are the main structures that you're going to see on the clam.